Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Henry Ford. Welcome. Happy Tuesday. My name is Coach Fu from LIFEline. Let's go. Hello. Happy Tuesday. Today is April 14th, 2026. It is day one. And for some people, it's still someday. But if you're watching here today, it could be day one for you in the LIFEline Challenge. So it is such an amazing day. I've been waiting for such a long time to actually be able to have the resources and the ability and the network and just everything included that I need to put together in order to make this happen. But we're here, and I'm like super excited for what's to come. We have an amazing next hour for you in store in terms of just like figuring out, how to choose your real estate investing strategy. And choosing your real estate investing strategy can be very, very difficult because, quite frankly, everyone suffers from shiny object syndrome. I think the last time I had looked at it is that we have less attention span than I think it was a butterfly or something like that, but like less than 6 seconds. I mean, it's probably no surprise that we live in the age where we just don't have the ability to pay attention. And quite frankly, that's the reason why I always call 2026 the age of the avatar. And what I mean, the age of the avatar, AI is going to make it so possible for us to look perfect in our pictures, even our videos. I mean, even audio, right? Because like it's just so easy to use technology to be somebody else or something else. Fake it till you make it, right? But I'm a proponent for live video and live media, and this is the reason why the LIFEline Challenge exists, because we are building something. I'm going to tell you all about it. It is before we get into a little bit more details, I want to tell you a little bit about who I am, just so you kind of get a feel on who I am and what I'm doing here. So my avatar is Coach Fu, and what I am doing is working on revolutionizing real estate investing education by servicing local community educators and investors nationwide. I'm also a private money lender for anyone that might be doing projects. So I've been in the business since 2005. I've seen a lot of things, learned a lot of things, and hopefully I can help you learn to how to get into the business of real estate investing. Because quite frankly, I feel like it has to be a part of your repertoire or your toolbox in order for you to succeed financially. And it's just all too often people are getting information and advice from folks on social media, some of which is good, some of which is not good, some of which is just a complete scam, right? But that's also another reason why I believe in live media, is because live media doesn't allow people to be scammy. It doesn't allow people to, not be their true selves in terms of, how, their intentions and, on why they're even on the internet. So one thing that I wanted to really kind of make sure that everyone understood about me in the LIFEline Challenge is that this challenge, or this 6-week journey, I feel like it's still in beta, but it's not in beta specifically anymore. It used to be called the Learn Local Challenge, but the reason why I changed it to the LIFEline Challenge is because I feel that to be successful in life, you have to have what I call the trilogy. You have to have wealth, specifically, which we're going to be talking about today. You have to have health, because quite frankly, we're not laying golden eggs if the goose is cooked. You know what I mean? You have to have your health. And quite frankly, if when you have your health and your wealth, that truly leads to happiness. So the interesting thing, today I'm going to declare, it is day one. So for myself, I'm going to declare the goals that I have in store for myself, because again, I'm on the journey, just like everyone else is on the journey. Uh, I have a goal, so I'm going to share them with you. And May 31st is the end of this LIFEline challenge. We'll then wash, rinse, and repeat after that. But for the next 42 days, and 42 days is very, very specific, very intentional, because quite frankly, that is the number of days it takes for anyone to create a habit. 42 used to be 21, but it upgraded to the type of attention span that we have now, and they say now it's double. You need to be at your grind for 42 days in order to create a habit. So this is what I have in store. This is what I'm creating. So Learn Local Academy is a group of network of real estate professionals that I work with that help me educate, empower, and inspire clients to basically add real estate to their portfolios. And by the end of May, my goal is to 10x the number of members I have in this academy, which is currently 54 people. So by the end of May, I declare I will have 543 people in the academy. Now, as much as that might seem far-fetched or maybe not, it's a goal, and I'm gonna work towards it. And you'll see me, if you connected to me on IG or wherever, I'm at Best Self Rue. Would love to connect. Would love to help you on the journey to your best self. So the next goal that I want to put up and share with you is that to the heart of who I am I'm an endurance athlete. So really quick story. The COVID really jacked me up really good. So I had owned an insurance agency at the time. I literally bought it the year before. And it was an insurance agency, and I actually had two employees that I legally and contractually needed to have in my office. And then COVID happened. So yeah, and it's just thinking about this brings back PTSD. But the whole point is that I've always needed something to keep myself on the grind, to keep myself going, to keep the energy level up. And quite frankly, nothing has done that in my life as much as endurance training. So by the end of May, my goal, again, let's throw that back up on the screen. My goal is to run the Rock and Roll Half Marathon here in San Diego. We're going to have an amazing weekend in store for everyone who's in the Learn San Diego network. We're going to have a weekend where Learn Local will be set in place at the gas lamp where the Rock and Roll Half Marathon is actually taking place. On May 30th, we're going to be putting on an event for anyone that wants to run their first 5K with the network. And on May 31st, I'm going to run the half marathon. So my goal is to do that in 1 hour and 45 minutes. Like I said, I'm back on my grind. I ran my first half marathon this year at Carlsbad Half Marathon. My time was 2 hours and 1 minute. And my goal was to break 2 hours. So I will break 2 hours, and with additional training and help from the community, I will do outreach to the community to help me with this goal, help me buy shoes, help me get some supplements or whatever have you. I go to the local chiropractor, whatever. They will help me achieve my goal. And the whole intention, the whole point of me putting that out there is not to impress anyone about how many miles I can run. By all means, there's certainly people who are faster. I know people that do 100-mile races every weekend. So it's just like, it's not to impress anyone, but it's really to impress upon the fact that the daily grind is required to get anything done, quite frankly. So And what's great about the folks that we have today that are part of this show is that they know that and understand that to their core, and otherwise they wouldn't be here. So what I want to do going forward is I want to introduce a little bit about this network, a little bit about what we're doing at Learning Local Live. So let's get to that. So Learning Local Live, what is it? It is the first real estate podcast possible for real estate professionals and financial professionals to help educate, inspire, and empower folks to get what they want. So really quick, the next slide kind of really shows you like a little bit of the inner workings of what we're doing here at Learning Local Live. I created this platform where basically if Rotary International, Business Networking International, and Toastmasters International had a baby, their baby would be Learning Local Live. And the whole point of our platform is to serve folks, is to help them network with each other, and to help them speak in public. Because quite frankly, like I said, everyone's going to have to be part of this revolution of live media, especially when social media is completely dead. And that's just that. So how do we do this? Well, we do this by connecting, collaborating, and creating opportunities, content, new ideas, whatever it might be, with these professionals. And with that being said, I do want to introduce our professionals that we have on today. I'm going to bring them on, and somebody sound is like really good. I don't know who that is. Sal, your background noise is, I'm not with it, but we can try to fix that. Roger, Victor, Sal, welcome to the live. Thank you guys so much for being here. Really appreciate you. Roger, I know that you're coming from a different meeting. I appreciate you coming on board, and I know that you have to leave a little bit early, so don't worry about it. We won't talk bad about you when you leave. And Vic, thank you so much. Vic is past any shows that we've done, so I appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course. And then we have, of course, we have Sal Guzman, financial planner. So, you know what? Let's see if we can't. I want to figure out this sound issue, guys, because we're gonna have a lot of issues hearing people. If you want to make sure that you have the sound echo cancellation on your live set up here, you want to just go on the settings, and then you want to click on audio, and then make sure you put in the reduce mic background noise and stuff like that. So hopefully that helps. Okay. All right. Well, what I wanted to do and just make sure that we have the opportunity to have, I know that I quickly did a quick introduction with all y'all, but I want everyone to have the opportunity to do a formal introduction. These are the educators that are going to help me talk about how to choose your real estate investing strategy. So, you know what? Let's go with Vic, because your head is just above everybody, head and shoulders everybody else.
Let me see if I can fix that before we even start, bro. You guys don't want to see all of me like that. That's not fair.
No worries.
Okay.
Please do a quick introduction of Victor Bell and Bell Capital, and we appreciate you being on.
Sure, man. Victor Bell, founder and CEO of Bell Capital. We're a real estate investment fund, firm, company, whatever you want to say. Like, we're a private equity. And we do multifamily real estate focused here in Southern California, basically San Diego County, and we're pushed out to Orange County as well as Hawaii. So that's me. And thanks again for having me, man. I appreciate you.
Of course. No. Anytime, brother. Anytime.
Yeah.
Roger, appreciate you, brother. Thank you. Please do a quick introduction to yourself. And if you can bring the camera down a little bit so there's not too much space.
Sorry, I have a big monitor.
All good.
So I am Roger Lee. I am founder of HLM Group here in Boston, Massachusetts. I am a property manager that focuses on short-term rentals. We started out in long-term space about 20 years ago, but now we've transitioned over to short-term because it has just been so much more rewarding for our investors, for myself, and this quality of life gives me the flexibility for everything else we do.
100%, 100%. Yeah, no, I love the story that you told me about how you got into the biz, and maybe we can share that a little bit later. Actually, no, we have a moment. So Roger had shared about how he got into the biz, and he's gonna tell a lot better than I am. But he had to take care of his father, who was had this medical condition, and it just gave him reason to just leave his job. And it was honestly probably the best thing that ever happened to him, right, Roger? Like,
yeah, for sure. So it's definitely like a blessing in disguise, right? So my dad had an accident. I needed to take care of him full time, juggling him, my two small children, full-time job, and a portfolio of properties already. I was extremely stressed. So having already started in short-term rentals, I felt confident enough with only 3 Airbnbs. It gave me enough financial stability to leave my 9 to 5.
absolutely. And now you're at 20, brother. It's mad props and respect. Appreciate you. Sal Guzman, Financial Cat.
How's it going?
Welcome to the live. Thank you, sir, for being here. Please introduce
yourself.
And,
of course, yeah. So I am a financial advisor. I focus on getting people ready for retirement. And when you think about retirement, really it's just replacing your income, right? And one of the ways to do that is through real estate. I know most advisors focus on stocks and bonds, mutual funds, but one key component of that is real estate that you can start adding properties and kind of build out a portfolio through that way. So that's what I help educate people on.
Got it. Very good. I really appreciate you, Sal. I was telling the story about how we had met, and it's interesting how financial planning, a lot of people want to do financial planning, but they don't know the first thing about real estate investing, or at least haven't bothered to educate themselves. And when I met Sal, I was kind of ranting about that, and the fact that he didn't feel offended told me that he was the guy to bring into this conversation. So really appreciate you all for being here. Again, I appreciate your time and energy. So what we're gonna do, how we're gonna go about this, the rules of engagement are, we're gonna give everyone the opportunity to kind of start into the discussion, and we're gonna get live questions as we go. I'll be kind of like your MC and your I don't know, facilitator of the live. I want to make I'm going to ensure that everyone has everyone is heard, and the conversations are we'll elaborate on things if we need to elaborate, especially if we get comments. But how about this? I'll kick off the conversation. I'll kick it off by essentially just going into this quick discussion or a quick show of just like the very, very common choices that people can make when it comes to investing in real estate. Okay, this is not entirely comprehensive, but certainly for most people, this will cover a lot of investors out there. So, and I won't spend too much time talking about this because this is going to be the basis of the discussion. But buy and hold, you buy property, hold it for a long time, wait for the value to go up, rent it out, sell it, whatever, you're good, right? Fix and flip is when you specifically have a goal of buying the property, doing value add, and then selling it for higher, right? There's no rental strategy, there's no hold strategy. And rental is really just a hold strategy. So if you say buy and hold, it's buy and rent. And then when you see fix and flip, it's fix and flip, and then sell, right? And then you got something interesting, which is kind of like a BRRRR method. And it's interesting enough is that, like, what's cool about real estate is that they always come up with new methods. So even before I even before, like I've been investing for a long time. And what's cool about ideas, it's usually the 10% new. So someone took the onus of making a BRRRR method. And I was just like, BRRRR, like, what are you called? And like, no, like I'm investing in BRRRR. Like, buy, rent, rehab, buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat. And that's what a BRRRR is. And then when it comes to short-term rental, that's obviously, not obviously, I'm sorry. I'm so used to talking to people like Vic, so I'm like trying to like always like, make sure. So short-term rental just means that you're holding them, but the whole idea is that you're renting for a short-term strategy. Someone who wants to basically take a vacation, they're going to rent your thing instead of a 12-month lease, right? So the questions will come in. Actually, you know what? We already have a question. So let's go. I'm going to ask these questions. We're going to put them up there. I have a question for Roger. What's the difference between short-term and long-term rentals, and why would someone choose one or the other? Roger, this is a softball question. Please take it and run with it.
That's a great question, Henry. Right. So a long-term rental is where you have a tenant for 12 months or like at least a year. And short-term rental is someone that may be coming for a weekend, a week, or less than a month. The difference why I would suggest that someone move into short-term rentals is because without risk, there's no reward. You can do the safety landlord method by finding one tenant. It's very low maintenance. They stay there. You don't hear from them for a year. However, if you do a short-term rental, it's a very active type of investing, or it's like an active landlord where you're a host. You are constantly cleaning the home and you're making sure that it's presentable, but you can also charge a premium fee for using your home for a short term. Generally, we make 2 to 3 times more than a long-term rental over a year span. But again, like it's also a constant business. So you actually get to utilize tax saving strategies called like the short-term rental loophole. And that can help anybody that has like a W-2 job, they want to offset their taxes, right?
Sorry, guys, we're live, so I muted myself. That's a good opening answer. So for the format is we're gonna give Sal and Vic a chance to just also follow up on what you said, and then we'll give you one last chance, and we'll go to the next question. Okay, is that cool?
Great.
Cool. All right. So Roger said taxes, so I immediately just think of Sal. So Sal, what would you say in your experience difference between short-term and long-term? Is there anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think one specific thing he talked about was like risk versus reward. I mean, we look at this with any type of investments. I kind of like to make the joke of like the mess around and find out kind of matrix. Everything's kind of like on a linear path. So the more, we're kind of risk we're taking on, the better reward we should be expecting and hoping for. So understanding where we're at and, what your overall, investment goals are is super important when you're navigating long-term versus short-term. So I think that was a super good point. That's how I talk my clients through, when they're deciding those things, what the actual investment goals are.
Perfect. Victor, short-term, long-term. I know you've kind of done you've done a variety of investment strategies. What would you say to help Henry out a little bit? What's the difference between short-term and rental? What would you add to that other than what's been
everything I do is long-term. Everything I do is long-term, but I also have an agenda, meaning like I know what my target is, like how much money are we looking to make. So once I put money in front of that, if I can hit my money target short term, I'll do it, depending on my taxes and my, whatever. And then if I am going to hit my target long term, I'm going to do that as well. Just because, I don't want the headache of having to go back and constantly repeat. If I can't buy that property again, I'm going to get rid of it. If I can't get a good tenant like that again, I'm going to get rid of it. So those are the things that that I focus on. Now, example of long term, it could be 1 month, it could be 12 months, it could be 10 years. So you're going to have to pick what that target is for you as it relates to long term. So that's my feedback.
Yeah, all good, all good. I'm going to say one thing and have Roger say one last thing. The biggest difference that I see between long term and short term in this case is that, and depending on who you are, right? I think if you're somebody who wants to really work hard, do the thing, and get a renter in there, then set it and forget it, you probably should really choose to be a long-term rental strategist kind of guy. If you're like into, if you're into feeling like you're in the hospitality business, right? And you're like, you're way more than just sleeping in a bed, right? And you're way more about the experience, about providing an experience, whether that's someone be visiting from out of state, or they just want to go to a football game and they want to be able to walk to their Airbnb and then pass out afterwards, then great, that's great. But if you're not into like all that customer service, you probably shouldn't be in short-term rental. In fact, you should run away.
So let me jump in here. I 100% agree with Vic, right? So I always tell people that I am actually a long-term investor that specializes in short-term rentals. So there's a difference, right? It makes a big difference in the type of asset you have. Say like a multifamily that Vic manages, you probably want long-term, but if we have a vacation home on the coast, that's going to be a long-term investor for the owner. And it's an asset that they'll be able to enjoy through generations.
100%.
That's right.
Perfect. Hey, so I wish we could spend the whole time on short-term rentals. I'm sure Roger would love that, but this is a live Q&A, so we got to tailor to the questions. And the next question we have is a very good one. I want to, in fact, I even want to know from all y'all. And by the way, if you haven't specifically bought property, it's cool as a planner, sell. I mean, I don't know. You don't have to. So my specific strategy, my first strategy was fix and flip. And as much as fix, so Martin says, what did each of you decide to do as your first investment strategy? So, well, maybe, even before that, my first strategy was quitting my job and starting a conventional lending business. That strategy did not work. If you want to call that an investment strategy, pull all your money out and start a business, right? But once I actually got out of that business and understood real estate, it was fix and flip, baby. We started flipping homes in 2007. We went to a weekend seminar here in San Diego called Fortune Builders. I think we flew out Thursday night. We did a seminar Friday, Saturday, came home Sunday night. Sunday night, printed 30, 60, 90-day list pendants, foreclosure lists, and we were door knocking on Monday morning. So that's my versus investment strategy. Vic, I want you to take this one on. Please answer the question. Henry is curious about what you first did when you first started investing.
So when I first started, again, I look at everything from a financial target every time I'm doing something. And you guys, I mean, anybody listening should too, when you pick a strategy. So my first strategy from an investment was based on what my assets were. I had time to go find deals. So what I did was I learned how to go and find deals, meaning like how to call on a seller, how to tie the deal up. And then I went to go find investors to fund the deal. So that was my first, and it wasn't really an investment strategy. It was a survival strategy. So
kind of what it is, right? It's kind of the same thing.
which goes right back to everything. It's like, so my first investment strategy was go and find a deal, and then I raised the money, and then I found an investor to fund those deals. And then naturally that turned into, wow, I could do this. And then I kept those properties, which happened to be a portfolio of multifamily, some one residential. And then we sold that one off because I realized how hard it was to do that. So I didn't really have a strategy per se. It was more of a survival. What do I do? And I didn't have what a lot of other people had, which was credit, money, a job, and or family or friends who could help me. So, you know,
all you had was
maybe
hustle. So all you had was hustle.
Yeah, that's all any of us ever have.
Yeah,
yeah, motivation, right?
Appreciate you. I appreciate you. Well, Sal, how about you? Can you take this one on?
Yeah, of course. So I actually had a really good econ teacher in high school who taught me about Roth IRAs and just investment stock market stuff. And then from there, I started opening my own accounts, right? So I started with just $50, $100, $200 a month. And then through college, I was actually a wedding DJ. So I was just throwing all this money in the market and a super easy, low cost ETFs, S&P 500. A lot of people know that. And then just let that money compound, right? And then in getting out of college, I'm 24, 25. Now I have, this account's worth $80,000, right? Now I have the ability to start up my financial advising practice, right? Instead of having to pull loans and, pay interest on that, I'm using that money. Now I can start looking at real estate, right? And, different rental properties. So it just really allowed me to open up the doors. That was my original first strategy, was starting to invest in S&P 500 and go from there.
Got it. Yeah, no, that's great. I'm glad you said that, because when I first saw the question, I thought it said real estate investment strategy, and it really says investment strategy. So all good. Roger, want to give you the last chance at this question, or the last share on this question in terms of.
Yeah, for sure. So I started by saving in a 401k, but I grew up like reading Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad. And so I bought my first multifamily at the age of 25 years old, lived in one unit, rented out the other, and
House hacking.
Again, house hacking.
Yeah, buddy. Nice. Very, very good. Okay, cool. I'm gonna no, that's great. This is awesome stuff. This is these questions will come in. We'll get more questions. But I actually, until we actually get more questions popping off, I want to ask a very specific question, because I think right now the one thing that people are going to encounter when they decide that they want to invest in real estate, it's commercial or residential. So I know some folks here are very strong on commercial, and some folks are very strong on residential, and maybe some folks are neutral, which is fine. That's the whole point. The point of having different voices. So let me just put that question out for you guys. We don't need anyone to ask that, but I really want to get that, have you guys talk about that. So Vic, I was thinking about you specifically when you said commercial, because I know that you are doing commercial 150 or 150 units above, right? Specifically.
Yeah, that's the target for our funds. Yeah.
Can you kind of just speak to that and say, like, hey, if I'm a new investor, like, well, why would I do commercial as opposed to residential? And then, if you
right. So you're going to start where you're at. That's first. So when I say commercial, like what you're saying, it's multifamily commercial, like meaning 5 units or above, or you're going to do single family, which is 4 units and below. So you're going to start really where your financial targets are going to be. At some point, the goal is to just be able to get started. The single family stuff, what strategy you use to do that, whether you're going to buy the deal and hold, or you're going to, whatever you're going to do out of the 4 that you picked, you're really just basing, to me, you're going to base off your strategy off of what your needs are. Right. I like cash flow. I don't want the headaches. It's easier to raise money for multifamily real estate than it is to get a partner to throw money in on a fix and flip deal, or to convince them that we're going to do the BRRRR and I'm going to refinance them out later, or whatever, right? Because you don't know where people are. But that's always a dictator for me, is like, how big and how long can I do this? Because real estate as an investment, if you're passive, it's your nest egg for the future. If you're active, it becomes a business and you become responsible. So then it just depends from that perspective. I'm sure you guys have a better take on it without me going into details, but that's why those are my choices.
Oh, that's a good start. So Roger, how about you? I know that the type of short-term rentals can vary. You could rent out a short-term rental on an 8-unit. It's still commercial, but it's residential. So what would you say about, deciding between commercial or residential if you're a first-time real estate investor?
As a first time, I would definitely, agree with Vic on everything he said. It really, it has to fit their need, right? If they're looking for something more to be involved, or if it's going to be more passive, there's a lot of options out there, but then, they have to weigh their potential returns.
For sure. I think you guys said the most financial planner question answers to the question is that make sure you fits your cup of tea. But let me just take the financial planner's perspective right now.
Yeah.
From a commercial or residential, do you have any?
I think that's great. Just to reiterate what they said as well. I think when we're picking any investment strategy, it's not about the actual investment. It's more of what's the end goal here, right? And how is this commercial or residential? What's going to get me closer to this goal? And then the lifestyle you want to live, right? Exactly what they're saying. How involved do you want to be, right? There's so many questions that really you need to sit down and think about before versus, I feel like a lot of people when it comes to investments, they're just looking at the numbers, right? And the ROIs, but there's so many other, factors that play into it, when we're reviewing different options like that.
Yeah, no, completely get that. No, that's great. I appreciate that. I appreciate you guys are, again, if we were live, we were just on social media, we would be spitting out like the tactics, right? But since we're live, I think it is appropriate that we put that disclaimer out there. It's like, hey, depending on what suits you is probably the best. It just, it's certainly not something somebody can just jump into from watching a TikTok video. You know what I mean? So, let's see if we got any more questions here. We do have a few comments. Let me just make sure I post those so I don't forget about those comments because we love the comments. Nicole Turner, yes, Lakeside, Learn Local Live, Learn San Diego Live on Fridays. Make sure you catch her. She'll be on her this Friday. We had Martin ask a question, and Henry See, this is what's cool about live, you guys. We're breaking the fourth wall. Henry's asking us questions. We're answering them. Eventually, this is the way it's going to go. Because you know what? Way too many scammers out there. Way too many people that want to appear to be professional and appear to be legitimate, but they're not because they don't have to be accountable. So for us who are here live, whatever we say, people can comment right away. And hopefully it's always a good thing and not a bad thing. Yep. All right. You have another question. How do you think about risk between commercial and residential when you're just starting out? That we can kind of like follow up with the question previously, because I know that would be good. So Vic, you had first talked about the fit, but how do you how do you evaluate risk when it comes to commercial residential?
Well, I think multifamily real estate, if you're going to get into commercial, that's a lot less risky than residential. I don't think anybody should invest in a home personally. So I just don't. Because it's great if you can buy it, but the goal is to keep it. And a lot of people can't keep single family houses unless they're rentals. And if you have one door and you lose a tenant, you have 0 tenants. It's like, what would you rather buy? A business with 100 customers on contract or a business with 1 customer on 1 contract, and when that customer leaves, your doors are closed. So if you're looking at there, like which one and risk, that's just my take on those things, and I'll beat that drum all day because aside from multifamily, I got into the business buying residential properties, very nice residential properties, not fixer-uppers, through subject to deals. So all I did was take over properties that were really nice, golf course, beautiful homes by people who were financially astute and having to go back in and restructure their financing on a single family home. That's risk. And they had the money. So to answer your question, if you buy a multifamily real estate, 5 units and above, the bank is looking at the income of the property, the expenses of the property, and they're going to give you a loan based on that property. It's a bankable deal. Single family houses, they're going off for you personally. So that's sorry to push into that world, but I figure worst case scenario, that's important for people to know is you're looking to make a decision. One, you need a target. Two, you need a financial target. Three, you got to know what your strategy is and lean into that and stay there. And number, what is that, 4 or 5, you need to make a commitment. All commitments come with time and money. And if you're not willing to risk those things to get good at them, you're going to fail, period. Real estate's a serious thing. And I mean, I think that's the take everybody should take on this, because I think everybody here is a professional, like you said. So I appreciate that. So great question.
Yeah, absolutely. Roger?
I agree. I mean, that's how I started out as well. You know, as a first-time investor, you're going to want to minimize your risk. You're going to, you know, figure out, you know, how much you can actually like live without if you put it into the stock market, right? And generally, like I would say most of my clients now in the short-term rental vacation home bucket are seasoned investors. They are of higher income type people. Yeah.
Got it. And so I want to close off that what you said, risk tolerance.
Yeah, that was super important. Roger was jumping on. I think real estate, when as a financial planner, I'm making sure we have steps 1 through 5 before we move on to something like real estate, right? We got to make sure we have an emergency fund. We got to make sure we're not in any high interest debt, right? That's working against us. We got to make sure we're taking advantage of Roth IRAs and, you know, extra money in your 401ks, that kind of thing. Once we get those base layers, you know, kind of figured out, then we can start looking at different real estate, whether it's residential versus commercial. But I think it's super important to have those basis covers first. That way you're just not taking on, you know, risk and being house poor, right? We see that a lot. All your money's tied up in one deal can cause a lot of financial stress. So I think that's super important.
100%. And can I add something? Can I add something to what he said? So, hey, and thanks for saying that, man, because you mentioned something earlier about financial planners. Most financial planners, wealth advisors, and things like that cannot talk to you about the things we're talking about that he's talking about. It's called selling away. So if you go to your financial advisor and it is not a part of their product lineup, right? They work for Wall Street, period, end of story. If their product lineup has nothing to do with residential, like maybe it's not a private placement, or if not, they're going to throw you in a REIT. They're not going to say, hey, like, you know, if you go to North Star, Sal's going to say, you know, you should be interested in real estate investing. Let's talk about that. It isn't that they won't do it, but if they're not going to get paid to talk about that specific product, selling away could get them fined and fired, right?
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. And I'll jump in on a little bit. It's the way the fees work. A lot of times, traditionally, when we think about a financial advisor, it's assets under management. So they get paid on the percent of assets they have invested for you, whereas me, I'm fee-based, right? So I can give you guidance on investments outside of, you know, traditional whatever's in the market. So real estate is super important. A lot of people they want to see a property that's making them $500 a month, and they can physically see it, right? Some people are like, hey, I'm cool with seeing $1 million in my account and it's growing whatever percent a year, right? Different types of people, but you don't want to alienate the people that, you know, are interested in real estate and using that as a part of their strategy.
100%. Yeah. I'm just gonna cap off that question by telling you that when I was a financial planner, with New York Life for 5 years. I needed a 6. I needed a 63. I was on the way to get a 7 and an 8, 9, and 10, whatever. Right? Crazy. But what I knew and what I realized during the time of being a financial planner, I mean, I met with so many people, and quite frankly, this is not to deter Sal, I'm sure, because Sal is not deterred, but I met so many people. Financial planning traditionally is a middle income family type of activity, traditionally. What they would say every year that I was there is that middle income is shrinking, middle class is shrinking. And I didn't believe it. I didn't even understand what they were talking about until I actually realized it for myself in my 5th year. Oh my goodness. Nobody wanted to hear me talk about, you know, the white picket fence and two and a half kids in a house. Everyone was like, you know, do you do crypto? And I'm like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? So I literally, personally, intentionally got rid of my alphabet soup of certifications because I knew that I was going to get back into real estate, because I knew that the middle class income professionals were leaving, were just disappearing, and like making it harder and harder for financial professionals like me, planners like me, to actually even help out. So I decided that I was going to get back into private lending, and the rest is history. So the point is that, like, yes, and I was completely afraid of being thrown in jail to be selling away. You're not going to do that.
Yeah, jail's a deterrent.
100%. Hey, really quick before we end up, if you guys can believe it, we're already 45 minutes in. And Roger, if you have to go, because I know that you had things to do, I apologize, but I'm just gonna quickly go through the rest of the schedule, just to make sure not only everyone watching it here knows what's going on. Next Tuesday, we're gonna be talking specifically about how to get financially prepared and approved. We're gonna have a credit guy on. We're gonna have a conventional lender, private lender on the show. The week 3, the 21st, we're going to do how to find the best deal with wholesale. The best deal buying real estate. We're going to have a wholesaler here. We're going to have, long tenured real estate agents and brokers on the pod. It's just about really providing value and giving everyone they need. Because after you choose a strategy, you're going to have to figure out how to finance it, and then eventually after that, you're going to have to find out how to get the best deal in that strategy. The next one is how to analyze construction, because quite frankly, I don't know about you guys, but most deals that I've ever done needed to do construction. So,
Never.
Oh really? Okay, well,
I've never even painted. I've been doing real estate for almost 30 years. I've never even literally painted or like ever. I don't know the difference between eggshell white and regular white. Like, it's not even funny. It's like I didn't get in the business that way. It's crazy.
No, it's all good. You're 1%. You're a 1%er, bro, in everything you do. So it's all good. Don't even worry about it.
I just didn't have that skill. Like, you got to use what you got.
All good. Week 5, how to protect your investment and close your first deal. Because quite frankly, you can go through all that steps and run into a terrible escrow person, terrible title person, terrible insurance person, and just a terrible, I don't know, person at the closing table, and you won't do the deal. So we want to avoid that. We want to make sure that, you don't fall into those traps, because quite frankly, that's like literally like falling at hitting the wall in a marathon and then like not finishing the race. Literally, like proverbially, literally, that's what it would look like. And then week 6 is that, hey, we're not stopping at one investment property, one deal. We want to help you build an empire. That's why we have 1031 exchange expert coming in, tax experts. Hopefully we can get a CPA, but really everybody that you need from week 1 to 6 to succeed on your journey to your best wealth self is here. So with that being said, want to just also let you know that if you are an educator and you want to be like Roger, Sal, and Vic here, we want to invite you to connect, collaborate, and create with us. Check out join.learnlocal.com, and essentially we will get you here creating with us. The last thing I want to say, guys, before we run, is that I mentioned that this whole LIFEline challenge was about helping to build your wealth, helping to build your health, but also to create happiness inside your life. At the end of May, for the 5K, anyone that wants to run their first 5K, we're all learning, right? So I have this. I don't have the guitar here in my office, but I have this guitar. I'm gonna set up at the Rock and Roll 5K. We're gonna have our Learn Local van out there, mobile van, mobile production studio. But I'm gonna play the guitar for anybody that wants to do their first 5K. And by the way, I don't know how to play the guitar. So, guys, it's just all about learning. You got to get out there, do stuff, get out of your comfort zone. And now that I've actually publicly declared it, guess what? It has to happen. It has to happen, and that's why we're here. So again, go and join school. That's where Learn Local Academy is appeared, and you can Learn Local Academy appears, and you can join Roger, Sal, and Victor in the academy. You can talk to him there. for the time that we have left, y'all, I want to give you guys the last word, right? Because at the end of the day, we only got a chance to answer a few questions. I mean, by the way, if you do have any further questions, you can call us and email us, and make sure we put that up on the banner on the screen so we get that up there. But each of y'all, I appreciate your time and effort. The intention of this is not only for you to provide folks live information, but we can curate this content and put it out on IG, put it out on TikTok, or wherever you be, Roger. I'm not TikToking like you, Roger, but you know, we can all hope that we can eventually get there. So, oh boy, it doesn't matter, but you know, I'm gonna go clockwise. So, Roger, please give us your last words of wisdom for anyone who's looking to invest in their first property. How to choose the best real estate investing strategy. What would you say to support these guys?
I would say that, you know, if you are curious about short-term rentals, if it might fit your investment portfolio, if it might fit your lifestyle, just reach out to me. Actually, this Thursday, if you're in the Boston area, I am hosting an event. Come meet me in person. I have teamed up with Wayfair at their showroom in Burlington, Massachusetts. And it is a sponsored event by Airbnb. So we will have food, drinks, and lots of discussion.
Awesome. You teamed up, or did they sponsor you, Roger?
Yeah. So yeah, I have
Teamed
worked with Wayfair to do these events at their showrooms.
Nice.
So cool. Awesome, Roger. Thank you so much, Victor.
Yes, sir.
What would you say? Last words of wisdom for anyone watching. I'm sorry that seemed like it was fast, but hey, we got other things to do. Vic.
Hey, you know what? No, I appreciate it. Last words of wisdom: be successful. That's the biggest thing. Like, go be great at whatever it is you're going to do, whether you're a passive investor and you're investing money in long term for you and your family, or you're going to be an active investor. Like you owe it to yourself to go be successful at this business. And in a relatively short amount of time, you're going to want all your cash converted into real assets. And being successful in real estate is the number one way that I know personally to do that. You know, you're not a tech genius. You're not going to Mars. You're not Elon, or you're not building a new Amazon, you know, or AI product. This is the fastest way for the average everyday human being to become successful.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Vic. I really appreciate every comment you have. And I know that somehow you managed to squeeze 25 hours into a 24-hour day. So appreciate you.
That's the game.
Yeah, I think for me, my last kind of words of wisdom, if you are maybe a little nervous or like feel, you know, maybe not as confident as you're kind of looking at different real estate investment options, happy to kind of look through what you're doing A through B, C, D before you step in and give you some confidence. Make sure you have those things in place. That way, when you are, you know, getting into real estate, you know that you have, you know, the back kind of foundational things before you're starting to dive into those things. Happy
Awesome.
to chat about that.
Awesome. Yeah. No, I'll provide my own last words of wisdom, and then we'll sign off. Really appreciate all y'all for being on the pod. One thing I will say is that experience leads you to meeting people who are also experienced. So I will say, if I wasn't as experienced as I was, or just grinding for such a long time, probably wouldn't have met someone like Vic, or at least got the attention of him. I was lucky to know Roger for such a long time, even before we became real estate people. And Sal, obviously, anyone that can appreciate real estate as part of their investing strategy, and you're not married to just the products that you sell. It's completely what I really respect about fee-based planners like yourself the most. But my last words of wisdom is that, hey, you got to be proactive. Whatever you do, whatever you decide, it is literally the top rule on the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by my favorite author, Stephen Covey. So just got to be proactive. You know, no one's going to do your push-ups for you. You're not going to look like Victor Bell without hitting the gym. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Seriously, like you got to be proactive, or else you just get what you get. But if you grind, you follow a system. Again, as I said, for every day, for every person, it's either day one or someday. Hopefully, today is your first day to invest in real estate. Give us a call, send us an email, tag us on Facebook, Instagram, Meta, wherever, TikTok, wherever we are. But just be proactive. Get out there and make it happen. This is Coach Drew. This is week 1. Make sure you tune in for week 2 of the LIFEline Challenge, how to prepare financially. And, we'll see you next week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Really appreciate y'all. Signing off.
Guys.